Okay, about 10 seconds. And you're live.
Okay, how's everybody doing today? My name's Dave Kokenauer. I run pretty much IT operations for a small base in Iraq. And today we'll be talking about HajiNets, how most of the guys over there have been getting just straight vanilla civilian internet access in the middle of a country that has absolutely no infrastructure. Okay, that's a picture of my office. I managed to get a Power Mac G5 smuggled in through eBay. Okay, what is it? It's a troop-run ISP, basically. What we'll do is we go out and buy just a standard satellite dish, and then split the costs among, anywhere from 25 to, right now our site's running at about 350 subscribers. And there are a couple reasons why we do it. The Department of Defense gives us an MWR cafe. For every 1,000 troops, you get something like 6 to 12 computers. I mean, that's great, except some of the more gray list sites are kind of blocked. They don't, basically you can't get porn off of it, among other things. But they're just kind of regulated. You can't have it in your room. There's lines and time limits that go along with it. And the other problem you'll get into is that if there are 30 guys waiting to get on a computer, you can't really talk to the folks back home for anything longer than 10, 15 minutes, because then they kick you off and try to cycle the next guy through. So we just decided to do it ourselves, and since we pay for it, there's no real oversight to it. Okay. A couple different types of networks I've seen out there are you'll have the smaller, small office, home office dishes that basically a platoon of guys will get together, 25 to 50 guys, and they'll split it up. Bandwidth costs about $1,500 a month, which is pretty expensive, and it's about $4.5 grand for the hardware. But if you split it up about 25 guys, it's not too bad. Speed's not great, but what do you expect, really? Then you get up into larger ones that guys will buy out business grade systems for, right now we're spending $15,500 a month for a 6 megabits on the down, 1 megabit on the up. Faster than it sounds on paper, but still pretty expensive. That's why you need a lot of people to get a dish like that. Everything's basically civilian off-the-shelf equipment. Here's where I'm stationed at. You've got right here you have Fallujah. Out towards the west you have Ramadi, and we're right in the middle. It's actually an old Royal Air Force base that's been abandoned for about 30 years. So it's pretty fun to live there. Abandoned buildings, kind of like every B-movie end of the world scenario you've seen. That's what the place is like. It's great. If you're ever running, the best part about it is I can run Cat5 however I want. If I want to knock out a building to get a wire through, if I want to just kick a hole through a wall, they don't care. So it's got its advantages. Everything is run off of just grid power, where it's not like we can go out to the local Duquesne Light or any civilian market. So we just have generators on the post. There's no telephone lines. There's no fiber optic lines. I think they're working on it, but as of right now, it's basically everything's done satellite. We pretty much roll our own when it comes to everything. Okay, on our network, the one that I run is PantherNet. We have 350 subscribers for 6 megabits on the down, 1 meg on the up. And most of the time, we've got anywhere from 170 to 200 people online. And it's close to an ISDN line. It's never been as slow as dial-up is. But of course, a regular cable modem back in the States is going to smoke it. Charge the guys $60 a month, and there's a $100 setup fee. With that, there's no filtering, but we do block certain things like peer-to-peer traffic, just because it clogs up the pipes pretty bad. We block online gaming, and no Vonage phones, just because they take up so much bandwidth that they'll knock other people offline. Even with traffic shaping, either they don't work or they throw off even basic services like web browsing. And we also set up a couple of the smaller networks for some of our companies. Okay, and this is the basic layout of our network. It runs from, we have a satellite hop, goes down to our antenna, and hits a iDirect 5100 satellite router. Simple switch, small firewall to protect our protocol acceleration proxy server. We'll get more into all these components later. But the main area that our guys use goes right here. We've got a Linux firewall running Smoothwall that acts as our gateway. Hits a Cisco switch. We've got FTP, little monitoring node. I make sure nobody's doing anything too crazy on the network. A web server, and then 2 DSLAMs. From the DSLAMs, we can push out about 2.5 to 3 clicks, a little bit over a mile to go reach all the different sites. And off those DSLAMs, we have 17 and 18 remote sites, respectively, off each one. Oh, and if any time during this you guys have a question, just feel free to throw a hand up or shout it out. I mean, it's not a big group, so. This is part of my office. One benefit is I really don't have to care what it looks like at all. As long as I know where the wires go, it can look like a cesspool of technology. We've got it smack dab in the middle of our base, and all the wires come in. It kind of looks like a giant mechanical spider has been living there for a couple years, because we have copper lines going everywhere. Okay, Satellite Link. Our upstream provider is a little company based out of the Ukraine called BusinessCom. And the guy I work with is a 22-year-old, just getting out of college Ukrainian guy who probably speaks better English than I do. And really fun guys to work with. We've got another guy, Tim Mahoney, in Sweden, and the actual NOC for the whole operation is in Traverse City, Michigan. We just buy the service off them and then split it up amongst ourselves. Only one problem we've ran into since we've been in operation, which has been since September of last year, was that we put more people than they've really ever had on their satellite network, and we broke it. Big problem with how they divvy up bandwidth. We were just getting through that as I came home on leave. Yeah. The gateway everything runs into is a box running Smoothwall Corporate Edition, just a standard desktop PC, Pentium 4, about 2 gigs of RAM, and it gives us a lot of good services to work with. The first one being a captivity portal. With a network this large, it spans about 3 clicks. That's 3,000 meters. It's a lot more than I can make sure that people aren't running up and just plugging in laptops and sealing service. Because while most of the guys are honest, you always have that one guy who doesn't want to shell out any amount of money to keep this thing running. So we run through the gateway a captivity portal that people log into, and from there it authenticates their machine and lets them go out to the rest of the world. It does our firewall. It's got a layer 7 packet inspection capability where it'll take any BitTorrent, Kazaa, LimeWire, anything like that. It blocks that traffic. Squid proxy, which speeds us up a little bit. You know, your standard DHCP and backup DNS. I've only had to reboot it once, and I'm not entirely sure I had to reboot it then. The only time the thing really goes down is whenever we don't have electricity to give to it, because they bring down the generators for maintenance. But even under heavy loads, it stays real stable.
What are you using for authentication? Are you using EPO8?
It's basically a secure socket layer login screen.
Okay.
Whenever they go to get out on the internet, like say they're going to Yahoo and they haven't signed in, it'll redirect them to the gateway. Then from there, it just keeps a list of their MAC address and their IP address, and will let traffic pass after they log in. Yeah, go ahead, man.
You said that the only time it goes down is when you lose generators. You guys don't have any kind of backup system, UPSs or anything like that?
No, we have UPS systems on the critical parts of the network, but we'll have generators go down to 4 to 6 hours because they have to change all the oil out in them. And all of our actual secondary generators are being used for government work, and I haven't been able to steal one yet. We're still working on it. I mean, we've got our eye out, but then we just bring everything down, and guys can deal without being able to get online for about 4 or 5 hours. I don't want to go change out things and risk frying a lot of equipment we can't replace.
How do you manage the logins?
When a guy wants to set up an account, he comes into where I work, pays his initial setup fee, and I just create, it's basically a simple Unix login, password and username. And then I just keep it all keep it just right on a spreadsheet file.
Do you know if you're using Radius or anything?
No, nothing too high speed. I've been trying to keep this, I'm really the only guy who runs it day to day, so I've been trying to keep it as basic as possible, but I looked into that when I was going to start it up.
So what's the real difference between Smoothball and Smoothball Corporate? You get like those added features or something?
Better documentation. If I had to do it over again, I'd probably just use IPCOP. But this was we had a really short timeline to get this off the ground. And I saw that and it looked like it would fit the bill and I was like, okay, let's buy it. And it wasn't too expensive for what you get. It was about $1,500 for everything, but it does a lot of features for us. Like it does traffic prioritization, makes it real easy. It's a very clean interface, so I didn't really have to learn too much before I started rolling it out. Hindsight, I'd go with IPCOP the second time because it's free and there are a lot more add-ons you can get with it.
Are you concerned with any confidential or secret information going over it?
Biggest reason why we block peer-to-peer. The one thing I'm worried about is a guy not really knowing how a software package like Kazaa works, sharing out his whole hard drive, and then doing something stupid like planning a mission on his personal laptop and that getting shared with the internet. That's a big reason why we just dropped that. Aside from that, we have a couple other security things in place that I'll get to in the next couple slides.
Does everyone connect through copper? Do you have wireless set up at all?
We have some wireless access points. It all depends on how close to the perimeter of the base you are. If we have guys on the interior, I keep them pretty much wireless because it's cheaper. And we run 128-bit WEP, which not great protection. I think, what is it now, like 10 minutes to crack WEP, if that. But you know, everybody knows each other. It's a small town. The only thing that if you get closer to the edge of the base, I keep all those guys wired just for the off chance of somebody setting up a directional antenna and being able to sniff traffic. So a little bit of a mix. I want to hear it.
I said Tachi doesn't work right, does it?
Oh, actually, you'd be amazed. They're starting to kick up. They're starting to actually open up some internet cafes out where we are, and I'm just waiting for one of them with a Pringles can to be like.
Pringles can on the phone?
Yep.
The record's at what, 120 miles?
Oh, I might need to drop my wireless points then. We've got really good. The one thing we excel at is physical security, though. And I'll just leave it at that.
You don't do any kind of MAC address filtering or authentication?
We did that at first, but you reach a limit with the DSLAMs we're using. You can only put 20 guys on a modem, and it's a giant pain in the ass because guys will buy new laptops, their laptop will break, they'll have to come in. We were really looking at that, and then also a couple guys realized that it's pretty trivial to spoof a MAC address, and they were getting around it like that, so we moved for 2 months. We didn't do a captivity portal. We were running everything off of the physical abilities of the DSLAMs, but then after a couple guys got a little bit wise, then we brought in the captivity portal, and that pretty much fixed the problems. I haven't had time to really check to see if you could steal the SSL, like the cookie it puts on your hard drive, and use that, but if I find anybody on the base that's that smart, I'm stealing him, and he's going to come work for me.
That brings up another question. So has it been more of a problem? You said, yeah, you're good with the physical security, but is there like, user education that you have to give these guys to like, hey, don't share out your whole hard drive, blah, blah, blah? Or?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we've got a lot of guys that it was, hey, my mom gave me this laptop. What do I do with it? We've got a lot of guys who are older, like